Meeting of the school board in public for the purpose of conducting the school corporation's business and is not considered a public community meeting. There will be time for public participation as indicated by the agenda. The meeting site is fully accessible, and any person requiring further accommodation should contact the superintendent at the school corporation's central office. With that, I've asked Mr. Klauser to lead us in a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call. All members are present, and we do have a quorum. Next, if we could have the reading of the mission statement.
Lebanon's Community School Corporation will cultivate and reach every student by influencing and enriching their lives through the power of education, and do so in a positive and safe learning environment.
Thank you, Mrs. Jones. Next, we have the approval minutes for the April 18th regular meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Mrs. Hutchison? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Klauser? Any comments or questions? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Next, certify executive content for the April 18th executive session. Do we have a motion to approve?
All motion.
Mr. Hendricks? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Jones? Any further discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have superintendent's announcements and celebrations.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. I have several announcements this evening, and first I'd like to thank our Lebanon Educational Foundation for yet another outstanding evening to celebrate our teachers, teacher celebration recently, and congratulations to all of our retirees in their next phase, and of course our distinguished educators and our Lebanon Community Schools Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Abby Warren, kindergarten teacher from Central Elementary. Abby's in the audience this evening. I saw her. She can stand and be recognized here. And congratulations. Well deserved, and we will be submitting her application for Indiana State Teacher of the Year here in the coming weeks. So I wish her well in that. Congratulations go out to the band program once again here at Lebanon High School. They were named a recipient of the All Music Award. Not all programs earn that distinction. In order to earn that, bands must earn a gold rating in marching band, jazz band, concert band contests. Also have a certain number of students winning gold in state solo and state ensemble events. And this is the first time that we've achieved that status, so congratulations to Mr. Kessler and the band students for their hard work this year. Congratulations goes out to our high school science academic team. They placed second in the state championship program. Ella Johnson, Emily Wascom, Taylor O'Brien, and Alex Emmenheiser represented Lebanon High School. So congratulations to our science academic team. I want to give congratulations this evening to our transportation department. They continue to do an outstanding job. It's 'tis the season here in spring, where we go through the inspection process for the state inspects all of our buses and transportation for our students. We had 91% of our fleet passed inspection on the first attempt, but they were very, very minor, and by the time the state police representative left the premises, we were at 100%. So they were very, very minor repairs that they pointed out. So congratulations to Dave and Camden and Becky and everybody at the transportation department for their hard work there as well. Might have seen some news recently, just wanted to touch on it this evening. Some news about some changes in the long-standing Sagamore Conference that Lebanon High School Athletics has been part of. Over the coming years here, in the next 2 or 3 years, the way the bylaws are written, several of the current members have indicated their plan to form a different athletic conference. So in time, the current Sagamore Conference would include Danville, Tri-West, and Lebanon. So what happens in these, and this was just for the board's information this evening, what happens in events like this, athletic directors send out invitations, if you will. There's been quite a few changes in athletic conferences across the region this year. So there'll be some invitations sent and open invitations for folks who may want to join the Sagamore Conference. And out of respect for the process and I'm sure you can understand the need for confidentiality in that process. I won't share where conversations stand with various schools who may have indicated interest, but there is some interest in the region. So we'll be just fine. The conference will be just fine. It's just part of that natural evolution that takes place with schools of differing sizes and whatnot. So just pointing that out as a point of information and how the process works. We will be breaking ground, as you know, on a new elementary school, thanks to our community and a referendum that was successful last May, in September or October of this year. And due to the school board's policy that we follow with a new facility opening, requires a naming committee to be formed. And that committee consists of a former school board member, a former school administrator, elementary administrator. Mr. Hendricks is co-chairing the committee with myself. We have Mrs. LaCrone, current principal at Central Elementary, and we have representation from all of the existing 4 elementary schools. As part of that, we had our first meeting on May 1st. We've sent out some public information about that this week. We will meet again on May 31st, and then following that meeting, almost immediately following that meeting, we'll begin gathering community feedback on that. But for the board's information and community's information, just as again point of information, we will be embarking on redrawing our attendance boundaries as part of the opening of that elementary school. So very likely, I would say, or somewhat likely to very likely, that new elementary school will have addresses assigned to it that may currently be part of Hattie B. Stokes, Harney, Central Elementary, and Perry Worth Elementary. So those boundaries will be changing over time, and that's certainly a factor as we think about legacies and history. And we're making sure that we incorporate that into our conversations, but that will be part of that process. And as part of the policy that the board has passed, that committee is required to send at least 2 names, not more than 3, but not less than 2 names for your consideration in the coming months. So look for that. It's a great group, very committed to the history of the community. Looking forward to how that goes. And finally this evening, I wanted to share during the superintendent announcements and celebrations portion, the hard work that we've been undergoing in the last 3 years, some of that with the board's help, in taking a look at our current mission statement. We read the mission statement at the beginning of each board meeting, but it was time to refresh that conversation and take a new look at that. And we have embarked on that. So I wanted to share with the board this evening, and I'll be asking later in the board meeting for the board's approval of a new mission statement for Lebanon Community School Corporation, as well as guiding principles. So I'm going to try to connect to this, to our screens this evening. We'll see if this will work for me. Mr. Barton assured me that it would. Am I going to 3? Thank you, sir.
There you go.
All right. Well, look at that. There's Purdue in the background. All right. Makes some of you happy, but not Mr. Hendricks. All right. I wanted to share with you this evening some of the process that the district undertook as part of this. Again, the board was involved in some of this work as well. So first, about 3 years ago now, our school administration dove deeply into the book by Patrick Lencioni titled The Advantage. And you really take a look at your organizations, school districts, businesses when you're taking a look at your purpose and answering these 6 questions. I won't read them all to you, but a lot of robust conversation took place around that. Certainly, we didn't spend a lot of time on question number 1 because we have a lot of faces staring back at us tonight that remind us why we exist here in public education. But we had some very, very meaningful dialogue about these 6 questions. Our school administration then went back to their PTOs or utilized their history in the district. And our administrators, as you know, have many, many years of combined experience in this district, live in the community, have worked with our parents, have worked with our staff, have worked with our families, and really wanted to identify what we felt identified Lebanon schools as our guiding principles, right, our core values that we stand for. And so these stood out. We're student-centered in all of our decisions. Service, we're committed to service, being part of our community. We spent actually a lot of time on number 3, but growth means for all of us. We expect our professionals to get better. We expect the superintendent to get better. We expect our students to get better. So we felt like, generally speaking, about growth was something that encompassed what a core value that we hold tightly. And then having high expectations of everyone and everything that we do. So those 4 core values kind of emerged through that conversation. Then we spent a significant amount of time with school board members and administrators and identified what are systems that need to be in place in a world-class school district to meet those core values, to meet those expectations. And we identified these 4 key systems. So we believe that we need to engage in our community. And you can see that recently in some of our social media posts, right, where our first responders are interacting with our elementary students. Central Elementary students traveled not only to the courthouse recently, but they traveled to the State House and received a tour to see how government works, right? Community engagement can take a lot of forms, and of course it involves that service component as well. And so there are ways that we can engage in our community, whether it be locally at the state level or beyond. Academic growth and opportunity should be an obvious one for us public school system, right? We need to be committed to our students' academic growth. And the opportunity speaks to the growth of our staff, the professional development and ongoing growth of our staff. A high-performing, engaged workforce, how do we recruit talent and how do we keep talent? And how do we make them feel part of what we're doing? And we know how hard it is to compete for that talent. And that's a big part of what we do as well. And then efficient, of course, and effective district and school operations. So this can take many forms, whether it be at the school level, just a process that they want to do better as a school, or certainly as everything from what Mr. Dennis will be presenting this evening in his financial update, making sure we're making fiscally sound and efficient decisions for the school district. We have incorporated these 4 key systems in our school improvement plans beginning with next school year. So every school will have a goal that aligns with each of these 4 core systems. I am working on, for the board's consideration, your evaluation instrument of me. And aligning my evaluation with these 4 key systems, so I can share evidence with you how I am, and you should expect me to provide evidence on how I'm meeting these 4 key systems each year. So we are embedding it into our daily work, and we look forward to how our schools will meet those key systems moving forward. We studied the work. I said of Patrick Lencioni. Some people might recognize Simon Sinek. On Strategy is a great YouTube presence that gives you some great tools as an organization to work. So again, then the process evolved from there, where I had meetings with our staff and administration. Administration met with their teachers. We pushed out a video that our former communications director created and gave parents, students the opportunity to give us feedback on some options on what our guiding principle statements would be, and our our mission statement would be. And I will share that the most insightful conversations I had through that process were with our students, and most definitely our elementary students. They were very on point, very engaged, and they had a huge presence in our final product that really drove the conversations with their teachers. So of those 4 guiding principles, these are not only the guiding principles, but the statement the simple statements that will go along with them. And the goal for this was to have these simple one-line statements that could be used in the classroom. They could be hung on a school bus when students enter the bus in the morning. They could be cycled through just to continue to inspire our staff and students to meet these core values. Not long paragraphs that folks can't memorize, but simple statements that people can connect with. So we focus on students in all of our actions and decisions. We're not here for adults, we're here for our students. So that's the reminder there. Service, we serve each other. So that could be in our classroom, it could be our colleagues. We serve our families, and we consider ourselves a family as well. And of course, our community, and we mentioned the many ways that we can engage in our community and make improvements in that area. Growth, the students really drove this statement. I would tell you, especially the elementary students, they helped us refine this. They basically said, don't complicate this, right? We achieved more today than we did yesterday. And I think that's a good motto for all of us, right? That's something I can put on my mirror in the morning, right? Achieve more today than yesterday, and go from there. And of course, high expectations, and I love this. My statement has been for many years in public education that I believe there's greatness in every student. It's our job to try to cultivate that and to find it and help them find it for themselves as well. But this says it probably better than that. We believe everyone can be extraordinary. Not just good, not just great, but you can be extraordinary, no matter your age or where you are, your station in life. So those are, I think, very powerful statements that we've landed on. And then this is the mission statement that evolved from many years of conversations. Simple, and we hope encompasses those 4 core values that Lebanon Community School Corporation challenges everyone every day to reach a new best. That really ties into that high expectations to be better today than you were yesterday. So super proud of our students and staff and community and parents and teachers that helped us through this process. And later in the board meeting, I'll be asking you to adopt these moving forward, and then we can talk about how we're going to read these at the beginning of board meetings and incorporate them into our work. So happy and pleased to share all of this work with you. Be happy to answer any questions about that or any of my announcements this evening, but that is all I have for my announcements this evening.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for all who helped develop this as well. Next, we have board recognitions. Dr. Millman.
We have some state champions in the house. Yeah. Let's see if this works. Hello. See if this works. There we go. There we go. We have with us this evening the Indiana Math Bowl State champions from the Perry Worth Elementary School. Would you guys? So I am going to invite all of you, including Mrs. Moore and all of the student state champions. You understand, being a state champion is rare air, right? Not many people can say that. Not many people can go through life and say that they are a state champion. I'm one of those too, but not in academics. So come on up. Come on up so you can be recognized. We're gonna stand up here, and I'm gonna have you introduce yourself. Come on up. Come on over here. Come on over here. Come on over here. You guys can line up over here, right? Good. Here's what we're going to do. We already delivered the T-shirts this week, right? And then we've got the group with their T-shirts tonight. I have one more promise I have to deliver on. I told them this. So when you get to certain levels of competition, you know how the principal, the superintendent will show up in your classroom with all those little bite-sized pieces of candy. So congrats. No, These are full-size candy bar. This is a full-size candy bar achievement, right? So I've promised full-size candy bars. So we will do that. So I still have to deliver on that promise, all right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pass the mic. Tell us your name and grade, okay? Name and grade. Got that? All right.
Quinn, and I'm in 4th grade. Hi, my name is Jacob, and I am in 5th grade.
Hello, my name is Adria, and I am in 4th grade.
Hi, my name is Aspen, and I'm in 5th grade.
My name is Hudson, and I'm in 5th grade.
Hey, my name is Wesley, and I'm in 5th grade.
My name's Adelaide, and I'm in 5th grade.
My name is Owen Warwick, and I'm in 5th grade.
Hi, my name is Vinny, and I'm in 5th grade.
Hi, my name is Thomas, and I'm in 5th grade.
Hi, my name is Teresa, and I'm in 4th grade.
Mrs. Moore, principal.
President, and I've asked Ms. Mikesell to talk a little bit about the experience that the students had and a little bit about that achievement. So introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Logan Mikesell, and I'm a 2nd grade teacher at Perryworth, and I'm also the academic coach for Spell Bowl and Math Bowl. This is our 3rd year together, and some of them have been in it since they were in 4th grade, and they are in it in 5th grade. Words can't describe how proud I am of this team. They have worked so hard. We started earlier than we usually do with practicing, and we were actually involved in an invitational to practice as well. They did a great job, and then once we got to the competition, we placed first amongst 10 teams. And then about a couple days later, we got the results that we were the state champions. And you guys worked so hard. You did the math homework. You were so positive, and you just wanted to learn. And I can't express how proud I am of you and Perryworth. And thank you to the parents and everyone.
Congratulations to all of you. Congratulations. So, the board, I want to.
Did she get a picture?
And thank you, parents, for supporting these students. It's so important. I had a mentor of mine that reminded me, it's M to the 5th power. More math means more money, right? So the more math you know, the more money you're going to make. And so thank you, parents, for supporting the academic growth of your students. We appreciate all of you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
You can have a seat.
Thank you.
And next, we're going to celebrate our work ethic certification students. That's hard to say for me. That's a tongue twister. And Mrs. Scott's going to take care of that.
Good evening. We are excited to also celebrate and recognize those students who earned their work ethic certification for the 2023 school year. As part of this Career Engagement Initiative, each year students in 5th, 8th, and 12th have the opportunity to earn the district work ethic certification. The certificate is a way for students to demonstrate that they possess the employability and character skills needed to be successful not only at school, but also when they enroll, enlist, or become employed after graduation. Students receiving this honor have met the criteria established by the district in areas of academic and work ethic competency. Before we recognize the students who have earned this achievement, you'll notice that several of our students tonight are unable to join us due to lots of different exciting things taking place across the district tonight, from athletics to celebrations to meetings at the middle school. So we want to make sure that we recognize each of those students, and they will receive the items following the meeting tonight. Also, we wanted to make mention that Mrs. Britt Buis will be taking photos that we will send to parents via Parent Square so that we can have those for their parents that might not be able to come up to get pictures. So we'll begin by honoring our 5th grade recipients. Throughout the year, these students have earned no grades lower than a C. They've completed a minimum of 2 hours of community service, maintained an average Pride score of 2.25 or higher, and an average attendance rate of 97% or higher, and have no more than 1 discipline referral. In recognition of this accomplishment, we ask that each recipient come forward and join Dr. Milliman at the front of the room as your name is announced. Our 5th grade recipients tonight will receive a copy of the book, The Coffee Bean for Kids by best-selling author John Gordon. In addition, the students will receive their work ethics certificate as well tonight. So we will begin with the 11 students from Central. First, we have Owen Carlisle. Chloe Carroll. Tate Fields. Oliver Gardner. Ella Garvin. Matthew Kleindell. Anthony Laraman. Abram McHenry. Allison Paddock. Owen Scott. And Gabby West. From Harney, we have Spencer Carlson. Claire Downer. Donald Mitchell. Asher Schnick. From Perry Worth, we have Camellia Carter. Hudson Howard. Gavin Mezzo. Jacob Sneed. And Zachary Sneed. Next, we ask that the 8th graders who are being recognized join us as their name is called. These students earned no grades lower than a C, completed a minimum of 4 hours of community service, maintained a Pride score of 2.46 7.5 or higher, and an average attendance rate of 97% or higher during this current school year. These students will receive a copy of The Shark and the Goldfish, The Positive Ways to Thrive During Waves of Change from John Gordon, along with their work ethic certificate. First, we have Kai Burcham. Brant Mezzo. Ethan Michael. Evan Michael. Hadley Warren. And Kyla Williams. Next, we will recognize the members of the class of 2023 as the LCSC Work Ethic recipients, but also recipients of the Governor's Work Ethic Certificate. These students have earned a 2.0 GPA or higher, completed a minimum of 6 hours of community service this school year, and maintained an average Pride score of 2.7 or higher and an attendance rate of 97% or higher. These individuals will receive the book titled The Coffee Bean, along with a black portfolio binder, their cords for graduation that denotes the work ethic certification recipient, along with their district and state certificates. First, we have Jillian Brubaker. Bo Bergen. Aaliyah Carlisle. And Johara El-Shahat. And last is Kylie Ottinger. Congratulations to all of our recipients. Thanks.
All right, with that, want to leave it open. We'll take a little break for all those who don't want to sit here and listen to boring school board stuff. We understand you got homework, right?
Sure.
Looks like the seniors already had senioritis.
Yep.
A lot of them, yeah. But you're more than welcome to leave, parents and students. We'll take a little break here so you can leave. And if you want to stay, you're more than welcome to, though.
This is
This is your
your
chance. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah? No? Or yes? Is it the next one?
This looks more like a normal school board meeting, right? Now they're all spread out. All right. Next, informational items. We have a presentation of the 20th, is that right? Yep.
of the 2023 first mortgage bonds by Stifel.
Sure. I'll go ahead and invite Mr. Shoemaker from Stifel up to the lectern there, and as he prepares himself, Board, for the last 2 months, we've seen presentations on the current state of our transportation facility and Lebanon Middle School, and while those buildings have certainly served their purpose well since their inception, we've certainly seen some of the shortcomings of those two facilities as they project both for our future, but also future growth. And so I have invited Mr. Shoemaker back tonight. I know he's a familiar face from a previous working session that we've had, but should we elect to go down the path of remedying the issues that have been identified at these facilities and perhaps some others, this is about the time that we would begin the process for issuing this debt in 2023. Wanted to give the board one last opportunity to see the structure and the parameters of the debt, as well as have any discussion. There would be no official action tonight. That would begin at the June meeting, but certainly wanted to give the board another opportunity to ask questions prior to any formal proceedings that would begin in June. And so with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Matt Shoemaker from Stifel, which would serve as our underwriters for this debt issuance.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that. I had assumed everyone had come to listen to the bond discussion, so I'm a little disappointed. But
riveting stuff, right?
It is. It's super. I think so. So like Zach said, we went through a similar process a few months ago where we talked a lot about the tax rate management and potential implications of issuing bonds in the future. We've come back with a simplified presentation tonight that looks solely at a potential 2023 bond issue that Zach just mentioned. So I will walk through this. Please feel free to stop me, ask questions anytime that you have them. This does not need to be any sort of formal presentation. So you have seen this graph before. This looks at your current outstanding debt. Anything that is paid out of your debt service fund is shown on this graph. It is color-coded by obligation. You can see in 2023, that is your highest annual payment. As you stack on the different obligations, you can see that the total debt payments were about $20 million. That drops significantly beginning in 2024, and then is very level from 24 to 2044. As I mentioned a couple months ago, even though you haven't issued the 2024 referendum bonds, the remaining bonds under that referendum, we know what that payment's going to be, so we have shown that in this slide here today. When you're talking about doing potential new projects, this is the exact picture that we want to see, and this really is a result of a lot of the long-term planning that the school corporation has gone through the last couple years. So as you look to add potential bond issues and add on payments to your current debt payments, we want to make sure that we're adding them on as others come off. And so we're replacing payments in the future, but we're doing it that way so that we can make sure that we're not increasing the tax rate. Administration and the school board has been very forthcoming in saying we want to do projects without increasing the tax rate. So that's the goal of this presentation tonight. As we look at the next page, this looks at the proposed 2023 project. We currently are running this at a total of $110 million. I know that is still under consideration. Nothing is finalized as of now, but that is what this page shows. The gray bar graph shows what we just talked about, the current outstanding debt payments. The dark blue would layer on the payments from the proposed 2023 bonds when and if issued. This is completely fluid. This can be changed up until we sell the bonds. This is just kind of our first take on what something could look like. We want to make sure that we can prove to the administration board and community that if you undertake these projects at this amount, it can be done so without increasing the tax rate. And so you can see the blue line graph there shows your total tax rate moving forward. Currently at just over 99 cents. We would keep it there through about 2027. Again, that is not set in stone. That will be up to your guidance as we get closer to issuing these bonds. You can see the tax rate would potentially drop out in 2028, and then again a downward slope from 31, 32, 33. So could do this project, could do so without increasing the tax rate, but still retain future flexibility. We know in a school district of this size with this many buildings, there's always something to address. So we do not want to take up the tax rate for longer than we need to, because we know there may be additional facility needs in the future. So let's keep the tax rate from increasing, but let's also provide you the flexibility in the near term to come back and address additional facility needs if you have them at that time. I will note the tax rate on this page. When we talked a couple months ago, there were a couple different assessed value growth options. There was a higher one and a lower one. We have run this at the more conservative, the lower AV growth. We want to make sure when we're showing you this picture, we're being as conservative as possible. So we have shown the lower assessed value growth option. We're running this at a 5% interest rate. If you were to sell bonds today, somewhere around 4%. A few months ago, we were actually down around 3.5%. Rates have come up a little bit. So I still think plenty of cushion between now and the end of the year. I don't expect rates to rise much further, but even if they do, you shouldn't get to the 5%. We've also assumed that these bonds would be issued all at once. I think that is highly unlikely. Typically, we would fund projects as you need the money. You're unlikely to be able to spend all $110 million in a 12-month period. But again, we want to make sure that we're building in kind of the worst case financial parameters. We don't want to come in under the best assumptions and say everything's going to work and then that not happen. So we want to come in under the worst case assumptions. If things turn out better, this picture is just going to look a little bit better. So I want to make that notes. Looking at the breakdown of your total tax rate, this is a graph that you're probably familiar with from a couple months ago as well. You currently have the operations fund, the operating referendum fund, you have the existing debt service, and then the tax rate that would be related to the proposed 2023 bonds. Again, all color-coded. This is just showing that your total tax rate would stay at the 99 cents moving forward. Those components might change from year to year, as we'll talk about on the next page. But again, the goal here is to hit the total tax rate goal of roughly 99 cents moving forward. And again, as early as 2028, you would have flexibility to come out and maybe do additional projects again at that time without increasing the tax rate. So as I prefaced the different components, we wanted to show just kind of a 2-year history and then a projection of next year. Again, all of these rates are going to fluctuate year by year. Really, the variable that you can control each and every year is your debt service tax rate. So going back to 2022, if we break down your total tax rate of just under $1, you can see your debt service fund was at $35.87. Your exempt debt service fund, that's the referendum fund, is at $28.55, and the operations fund is at $35.35. Aggregating those together, you come up with the total tax rate of $99.77. But you can see how those components change from 22 to 23. Now the debt service fund has been brought down to $24.72. The exempt debt service stayed the same at $28.55. You had the new component of the operating referendum that came on at 15 cents, and then the operations fund went down about 4 pennies to 31 cents. Still getting to the 99 cents, but those components have changed. That is extremely common. We see that in almost every school corporation. When you're managing to a tax rate, some of those components are going to change from year to year, but the ones that we can control, that's kind of your variable. We want to make sure that we either increase or decrease those to make sure that we're hitting those tax rate goals on a yearly basis. 2024, this is projected. We've assumed an AV growth of 8%, a growth quotient for your operations fund of 4%, and then the operating referendum is going to be capped at a 3% growth. With those projections, we're looking at a debt service fund tax rate increasing to about 31.5 cents, the exempt debt service fund decreasing to 23.71, operating referendum fairly close to the 15 cents, just under that at 14.27, and then the operations fund at 29.97. Again,
and Matt, if I can just jump in, I apologize for interrupting, but Board, there's a few interesting things happening in the 2024 column that I want to provide some clarity on. First of all, we can start with the exempt debt service fund. our referendum authorizes a levy of up to $28.55, which is exactly what the rate was for 2023. The reason that that is falling down to a little bit less than 24 cents is, remember, this is the last year that we're making payments on the referendum bonds that were issued in 2010. So we knew that that rate would come back to us and we would lose a little bit of rate as a result of that. If you'll recall, last May, our voters approved a operating referendum levy of exactly 15 cents. And you can see that Matt has in here a number that is less than 15 cents. There was some unfortunate language that came back in at the end of the General Assembly this year. All operating levies in the state of Indiana, now any school that has one, you may not increase your operating referendum levy any more than 3%. And so for school corporations whose assessed valuation is growing at higher than 3%, if they don't allow you to increase your levy by any more than 3%, the tax rate math there, what has to give is the rate. So even though the taxpayers did approve 15 cents, we statutorily will not be able to levy 15 cents in that fund. Similar mechanism was put in place on the operations fund. The maximum levy growth quotient, or the MLGQ, governs how much the operations levy can increase on a given year. There is some math that goes into calculating that, but we were going to be eligible for a 9% levy increase due to the assessed valuation changing in our community, and that, of course, affects operational dollars that we would need to spend. However, the language that was passed from House Bill 1499 is going to cap our operations levy growth at 4%. So I put some calculations together for that. The 2-year consequence for the cap on the operating referendum levy is going to be a loss in revenue to Lebanon Community School Corporation of $555,537. So $500,000 over the next 2 budgets. The operations cap is a little bit more detrimental over the next 2 budgets. That will be a total of $796,356 that will be revenue lost to Lebanon Community School Corporation. So that is the drop in rates for those two funds that we see in 2024 for the 2024 budget.
No, you're good. Well said. So again, as the components change, we'll react to that, but the goal here is to stay tax rate neutral from year to year as we're doing some of these projects. Last slide, and then I will be out of your hair. Again, you're not seeing a resolution tonight. When you do see a resolution, I put together just some proposed parameters. These are subject to change as the scope and the pricing comes in a little firmer. But as we stand here today, you'd be looking at a par amount of bonds of $110 million. That does not obligate you to borrow the full $110 million. It authorizes you to borrow any number up to the $110 million. You cannot go above the $110 million, though. Estimated cost of issuance, these would be upfront fees. This is an extremely conservative number as of now, but we've listed $2 million. That would leave $108 million. That would be proceeds available for the hard and soft project cost, the money going into the actual project. Estimated interest rate, I had mentioned if you were borrowing today would be at 4%. We're not borrowing today, so we need to make sure that we're putting in a conservative figure there. We've listed that at 6%. I do not expect us to get anywhere close to that number, but really these are worst case financial parameters. $110 million at 6% paid over 20 years, that would get you an estimated interest expense of $79,043,950. Again, if and when these bonds are ultimately sold at a lower interest rate, that number is going to come down significantly, so don't get caught up too much in the sticker shock. Maximum lease payment, that's the highest amount that you can pay in any 1 year on these obligations. That is listed at $12 million. The main reason I wanted to show these tonight was the next line, the estimated maximum tax rate impact. When you look at the resolution in the future, you will see this line. This line will not say 0, even though I've mentioned that many times tonight. So this line is just purely a statutory formula. It takes the $12 million, the maximum annual payment, and it divides it by your current assessed valuation. Totally disregards the first slide I showed you where you had the higher payments. Those payments are coming down. We're replacing that. The statutory totally disregards that. So we're saying tax rate neutral many, many times. We get the question all the time, if it's tax rate neutral, why is there a tax impact in this resolution? It's because it's purely that formula and it disregards everything else. The net impact on the debt service tax rate, as we just showed on the last page, the debt service tax rate is expected to increase a little under 7 pennies, but it's doing so because some of those other components are changing. That's the variable we're using to solve for that total tax rate of 99 cents. Lastly, the net impact on the total tax rate, when taxpayers get their tax bill, they're going to see a net impact of 0. That rate will not change if that's what the board decides to do moving forward. Said a whole lot of information. Questions for me on any of these pages or any additional information that I can provide here tonight?
Couple zeros too. Lots of commas. Lots of commas. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So ultimately, the purpose of inviting Mr. Shoemaker tonight to present on this is to prepare us for moving forward if that is the appetite of the board. And at the end of this, whether by an impromptu motion in action or just nodding heads, I'd like to gauge the board and ask for permission to go ahead and place an ad in the paper advertising for our first preliminary determination hearing that would happen in June, and officially kick off the process for ultimately issuing these bonds. So whether someone would like to make a motion and we have a vote, or nodding heads, looking for board permission to go ahead and place that ad in the paper for first preliminary determination hearing on June 13th.
I'll move to approve the
Mr.
request
Clauser.
from Mr. Dennis on that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Jones. Any further discussion?
I think we need the math bowl kids in here to help explain it to us.
And just for public knowledge, this is for which facilities?
Perfect, yes. So Lebanon Middle School is the heavy lift associated with these bonds, and why, quite frankly, the number is where it is. That tonight, even though it's not the official beginning of the procedures for this issuance, is the time we say that number to set the high water mark. The reason it's set there is our partners at Meyer Najum are still taking the schematic designs from Schmidt and getting to a point where they can let us know what Lebanon Middle School will essentially cost to do some of the work that you've seen the renderings from Schmidt already on that facility. Secondarily, transportation facility. I know Dr. Milliman plans to talk about the transportation facility location. We've also seen renderings for that, and we have really seen the dire need for a solution for transportation. And so that would be the next priority location for these bonds, depending on where that number comes in, those two numbers, I should say. There is certainly some work at Lebanon High School in the way of some rearrangement of the current student services and administrative suite, and potential for other facility, addressing some other facility needs at Lebanon High School, should the budget allow for that. Again, waiting to see from our partners at Schmidt what that number may be. But certainly the two facilities that I know this would impact would be the renovation of Lebanon Middle School and the construction of a new Lebanon transportation facility.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second to provide authorization to Mr. Dennis to begin the process by advertising.
Put an ad in the paper,
and
yep.
Put an ad in the paper. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You have your calling orders.
Thank you.
All right. Next, LCSC enrollment rebalancing project. Dr. Miller.
Yeah, rebalancing is about as hard to say as
It is.
certification. Yes, for some reason I can't get that to roll off my tongue, no matter how hard I try. Mentioned earlier that we will be embarking on a larger scale elementary boundary project. We're receiving some quotes from some professional services that specialize in that at larger scale. Just wanted to bring to the board's attention that we may be taking a look at phasing this project in a smaller chunk. We're seeing growth patterns, of course, not a secret to our community in different areas of the district. One in particular in the current Perry Worth Elementary boundary. In Whitestown, near the Legacy Corps, Mr. Clauser's home. There's apartments that have been constructed and began leasing in around November. It's not completed yet. There's still at least, I believe, 2 more buildings or sections to be completed. We already are enrolling 24 students from that complex. That the particular apartments are designed to be below market, if you will, on a rent situation. There are a lot of the folks who are working in our commercial and warehouses in that area, providing them some affordable housing. So we've been welcoming some students from that. It was very difficult to gauge, very difficult to pinpoint what that impact might be. But we do have currently 24 students enrolled from that complex. And then in addition to the additional homes, of course, that are being constructed and under construction in the area. In the same apartment complex realm, as you drive along I-65, you'll see on the east side of I-65, just north of Anson there, Anson, Whitestown, 2 large apartment complexes. Both of those are currently in Perry Worth District as well. One of those sets of apartments has begun leasing, and we currently have 1 student enrolled from there. And there's some other housing additions and neighborhoods under construction near Golf Club of Indiana, for example, along Indianapolis Road. So I'm just bringing to the board's attention, we are investigating at this time whether there are some, I'll use the term surgical, if you will, rebalancing efforts that might even take place this summer to go into effect for 23-24. And what we're reaching out to the professional partners to determine is the likelihood through their expertise of certain areas within the Perry Worth District becoming part of another elementary school district as part of that larger scale. You never use the term permanent solution when you're talking about attendance boundaries, because that wouldn't be wise, but a longer term solution, and it would be part of that process. So would it be an early move or something that would be likely taking place later? So I'm happy to answer questions about that, but we are, again, engaging with partners to look at that, and I'll have some more information at the June meeting. Don't know whether it would be in the form of an action item at that time, but of course keep the board informed about that. So, questions about that?
And that's my understanding, it's new development coming in would then,
Right.
those are the areas we'd be looking at going
Right.
ahead and
Exactly.
putting into
The thought
different-
process is that you want to impact as few families as possible. That's always one of the guiding principles of a rebalancing project. So if a move is made in a neighborhood that is generating, 1 to 3 students currently, or 0 students currently, as they buy their homes, will have an identified elementary school, and we would have a lesser impact. So trying to say this would be an early step in the process. Right.
Yeah. And generally speaking, in terms of when we are made aware of these sorts of plans, do these developers or do the towns, as they're making these development plans, do they have to consult with us in any capacity to give us any sort of early warning that this is coming down the road?
No.
My understanding is that they didn't, but
No, they really don't. I mean, it is incumbent on us and me to monitor that, and monitor, building permits is an indicator, obviously. However, I will admit it's a little bit difficult to keep up with the multifamily housing, because that's not a building permit situation. So you're not seeing that. They're not pulling 30 building permits for another section of a current neighborhood. But we do pay attention to the degree we can, and work with, and the town of Whitestown's been very forthcoming in our meetings with them, and we appreciate that, as well as Lebanon. And I've shared with the board in your notes this week that there's a proposal in the planning commission right now for another neighborhood near the State Road 39 and 300 intersection. That's 140 acres. You're talking townhomes, potentially 100 140, 150 plus homes. That's currently, I believe, in the Harney district, I believe. I'd have to double check, but I believe it is. Whether it is at the end of the rebalancing, I don't know, Dr. Dye, but it currently is. So, those things can sneak up on you, if you will, and sometimes they can lay dormant for a while. They're coming, and then, okay, now the builders all of a sudden, now they're going to build. So
They go up
it does, and they can go up fast. And so while you know that they're there and they're on the plan and they're plotted, we're almost forced to be somewhat reactionary and always doing some type of forecast.
I wonder if there isn't a way that we could ask to be invited onto, into a TAC invitation when developers are coming in with new developments, through the technical advisory committee that each planning group, each city has, just a notification of what's coming down the pipe.
Sure. It's a good suggestion.
As they come with, primary plats, then as secondary plats come in is when you're really going to want to, on the
Secondary
housing,
plats will really
yeah.
generate, right?
Yeah. So, very worthwhile thinking about asking each of the planning groups to.
Yeah,
departments
I agree
to
with
do
that, and I can
Yeah.
certainly do that. A good suggestion. Thank you.
Because we got a little bit more coming, I think, development.
A little bit more coming.
A little bit more in the
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Next, we have the Transportation Center location and site master plan.
Yes, I put this on the agenda as an information. I just want to have some dialogue with the board and maybe have a little bit of a conversation here and your thoughts about a communication plan. We want to make sure our community is aware of these. Mr. Dennis mentioned the transportation is a big part of the next bond issuance if the board so chooses to do so. And the transportation center that we have been referencing, Mr. Dennis, and we did have a slide showing it at the last board meeting, but I felt like we owed the public some time to dialogue a little bit with it. Currently, we have that designed to be next to middle school as well as the buildings and grounds building. So thinking in the property just north of the new elementary school and not quite to the new middle school practice football field, which is essentially finished today. That's about how quickly they have graded that area. So very close to that location. We have some neighbors that we want to make sure are aware of those site plans, the master plan for that site. Thinking our residents on John Bart Road, perhaps Fordyce, perhaps Elizaville Road as well. Morningside, other neighborhoods that are next to our middle school, because they'll have some questions, I'm sure, about traffic and what that transportation center would mean for them. So I really wanted to open it up to the board just for your thoughts about that and a communication plan. Preliminarily, we're considering some kind of town hall format, if you will, and perhaps reaching out via snail mail and/or email to those residents and inviting them and sharing with them, bringing in the architects and design team to talk about mitigation strategies when it comes to light and sound and all of those things. So just wanted to get the board's thoughts on that this evening and direction maybe that you think would be wise for us to follow.
I was going to say, I love the idea of the town hall after being in a similar situation where I currently live. That would have been a great benefit, I think, to the community to have such a town hall and have their, ability to say what their thoughts were and maybe some concepts behind the new planning.
Mhm.
So I definitely think the town hall is a way to go on that. for
Good.
sure.
Good.
Are these plans currently on a website, or will they be added to the website so people can see like the rendering and kind of get a
Yeah,
visual?
we have not put the renderings or any of the site design on the website yet. We could possibly do that through that invitation and then have that link available when we send it out saying, prior to the meeting, you could click on this link and take a look at where we're currently planning to locate it, and then they could maybe come with some of their questions. What are your thoughts about prior to the June board meeting versus following? I mean, we're not taking formal action. It's a second step or a first step in June. You're not issuing the bond or, making the approval at that time. Were you going to weigh in on that?
I specifically with the rendering, certainly with the direction tonight given to move forward and pursue the bonds, we can now tell Schmidt we have a path towards funding, and they can keep working on the renderings to a point where they get to a place where the website would be a good place to view. They wouldn't be so raw, I suppose, is what
You
I'm
could
thinking.
refine them a little bit more, right?
I agree at a town hall or an informational meeting, I mean, you can never over-communicate in providing input, answering questions, and I even think during those meetings, having a small presentation of
Yes, of
all the
course.
information.
Right.
But have answers before, or informal before and afterwards, always works well. As far as timing before the June meeting, I'm not sure if that is necessary,
Pretty
because
tight
again,
timeline.
it is a very tight time, because you also want to be
Not
able to
doable.
provide ample notification to everybody, and make it well-known, and get it spread, the news. out
And it's
there,
not
so.
just the transportation center, as I
Correct.
mentioned I'll mention to the board as well. We're talking about the intersection of 150 and the entrance to the new elementary school with to our car queue line, and how we're going to be entering that site. So traffic will be different in that area regardless of the location of the transportation center.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need a lot more time with graduation, holiday coming up. And then I'm sure we'll do this, but recording the town hall so it can be shown to people who
Agree.
can attend.
Right. Good suggestion. Okay. Thank you. I'll take the board's direction on that, and we'll begin trying to gather some addresses and put a mailing list together.
Excellent.
On that. All right, thank you. I think the last bullet probably for school, we probably beaten that horse.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Item 7 is consent agenda, staff matters.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. For staff matters this evening, under our classified, we have new hires 46 through, where are we? 53, 53, yes, 46 through 53. We have a retirement number 54, and recommending seasonal hires numbers 55 and 56. Under our certified this evening, a medical leave request number 14, new hires numbers 15 through 19, resignations numbers 20 through 24, and retirement number 25. Under our ECAs this evening, new hires numbers 36 through 43, and resignations number 44 and 45. Respectfully submit those for your approval this evening.
All right. With that, we'll, do we have a motion to approve item 7A classified, 7B certified, and 7C ECA, as noted by Dr. Millman? We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We are now going to take a
Yeah,
pause to
I'd like
introduce
yeah, and I would
some
like
of
to
those.
take a moment to first, among your consent agenda this evening, we had a retirement this evening from Lebanon High School, Todd Millar, longtime teacher in the district, and I just wanted to pause and thank Mr. Millar for his service to the school corporation, of course, Lebanon High School. Also, putting an all call out to the school community and the board, if you'd like, and for suggestions of folks who may be working in the community. Todd served as our representative on the Lebanon Library Board, and no longer will be able to do that after this evening, after your yes vote. So we are looking for a volunteer from our ranks to serve in that capacity. So that's the all call for that. We have some new administrative staff. I'm going to step away from my place here and introduce them to you all, and have them introduce their guests. And so we'll do that at this time. The first new administrator we'd like to welcome is Mr. Stuart Anstead. Come on up, Stuart. Mr. Anstead, thank you, absolutely. I'm going to read a little bit about you first.
Are you?
Yes, and then you can talk to the board. You can stand right there. We're thrilled to welcome Stuart as our new Director of Food Service for Lebanon Schools. Mr. Rastrup grew up in the United Kingdom. He has over 30 years of experience working within the hospitality industry as well as being an educator. He attended culinary school in Essex, England, and learned his trade as an intern in famous restaurants and hotels throughout London. More recently, he has spent the last 6 years as the Director of Food Service for a private school in Whitestown, Indiana, and we are always pleased to have talent join us from neighboring corporations and districts. We're just very, very pleased. He hit the ground running with us yesterday. Pleased to say he was the last person out of the office. We've been putting him up in makeshift spaces the last couple days, and I think he stayed longer than Mr. Martin and myself in the office last evening, so he's already been getting after it. So I asked Mr. Anstead to spend a couple minutes with the board because I know that you probably are curious about, and the community is curious about, the direction of food service and kind of his vision and for the program and moving forward. So welcome, Mr. Anstead.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So I'd love to speak for a couple of minutes. First thing I thought about while I was sitting there was that was actually the first time I've had the ability or the chance to say the Pledge of Allegiance since I actually became a citizen last year. So it was kind of cool sitting here being able to do that. So it's pretty cool. I enjoyed that. But yes, I've got quite a bit of background. I have worked in the food industry for many years. I have also been a teacher. So I can say, yes, I do understand. So it's, I spent 13 years in teaching, and I was actually in leadership within teaching as well back in the UK, not here. But yes, so I've got a fair background to be able to take this challenge on. As you know, we're moving away from Aramark, and so I'm stepping in to facilitate that change. And it's quite exciting. I spent the last 2 days yesterday all day with Mr. Martin, where we got through an awful lot of information, and we went round to the schools, and can I just say how impressed I am with the staff that are in those kitchens. I mean, one of those schools are feeding 300 kids a day, and there's only 2 of them doing that. So that's, that's quite a challenge. Even I would find that hard work every single day with my background. So it's really impressive to see that. And to see just the general staff. I'm talking about 30 years experience, and one of the staff members here has been here 27 years, is it? And so that's the majority of my career. She's been here. And that's also very impressive to come across some of those people. So, it's been a good hit the ground running. I've enjoyed it. We've got some things to accomplish. One of those being helping with Aramark as they leave, but bringing in new ideas and new strategies to how we run those kitchens. My philosophy is quite simple, really. We're all fueled by what we eat. If we're putting junk into the kids, we're going to get junk out. So we need to try and make sure that the quality and the content of what we are providing is as high as possible. So that's my job. That's why I'm here, to try and implement that, and that's what I'll be doing. So it's like a recipe. If you put in bad ingredients, you're not going to get a great result. So that's what we're looking at. I've already talked about team members, but obviously I'm looking for ways of building revenue to make sure that we are not a strain on the corporation, that we are providing quality food, but ensuring that we are doing our bit to do that. We're not pulling from the corporation. But one of the main things I wish to do, and we talked about this briefly yesterday with Dr. Miller, is that I would like to rebrand who we are. Obviously, with having someone in place for 40 years, there is a brand there within Aramark. Our kids, especially those in teenage years and so on, focus on brands. So we need to look at what our brand is, providing that food and making it something that they want to eat, not it's just there to have. We need to have an effect on those students and persuade the students that currently aren't eating with us to start eating with us, because that helps with revenue. So we're looking at potentially a logo, rebranding a little bit to bring in some colour, some excitement, and not just in the high school. I want to see it all the way down through all the way through, it's not down, it's definitely not down, but through to the primary schools as well. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. We need to build our staff up back to where it was pre-COVID. We are just like everybody else. We're having trouble finding people to work, and we need to work on that. We need to get there as soon as possible, because obviously we're back again in August. With only 5 days left this year, we're back again in August. So there's quite a few challenges there. We will get them done. I think Mr. Martin is now breathing a slight sigh of relief because of that, so he's got somebody who can take some of that on. But my last thing is a question for Dr. Milliman. Those candy bars that you were talking about, are they Smart Snack compliant via the DOE? Because apparently, according to Mr. Martin, yes. I am now the candy bar police.
Yes, absolutely. They are Smart Snack approved because I'm giving them away. That's right. That's right.
Any questions?
I just want to know if you're going to bring us scones to every board meeting.
You know, I get that. Yesterday, it was black pudding.
I want trifle.
You know what? I said to my wife, I think we're going to have kind of like an open house so people can come and sample British food, because it's got a pretty bad rap over the years.
Fish and chips.
Yeah, definitely. Bigger food. But, all right. Well, thank you very much.
Well, we have a gift for you here. The next administrator I'd like to welcome to our team is Gwen Bell. Gwen, come on up. Gwen will be joining us. Gwen will be joining us as assistant principal at Central Elementary. Gwen comes to us from Noblesville East Middle School, where she was the dean of students for the last 4 years, overseeing student services. Before administration in Noblesville, she served in Carmel Clay Schools for 9 years as school improvement chair, team leader, visual arts teacher at both the elementary and middle school levels. We're thrilled to have her with us. So congratulations. Do you have anybody?
Oh, yes, this is my wonderful husband, Andy. And he's here with me tonight as our 7-month-old is at home with the babysitter, so we might have to hop out a little sooner. But I'm really honored to be here, and out of all the districts I've been in, this has been the warmest welcome I've had. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that, too, and the staff at Central and Mackenzie, too.
Welcome.
And last but not least, we want to welcome Mr. Frank Meyer as the new Lebanon High School principal. Welcome, sir. You're going to stand next to me while I brag about you a little bit. That's fine. Mr. Meyer has recently served as Tecumseh Junior High principal in Lafayette, Indiana. And before moving to Lafayette, he served 13 years as assistant principal and 5 years as an English teacher at Avon High School. Prior to education, Mr. Meyer was in the field of communications, primarily in the world of television and print media as well as a researcher. Frank oversaw programs at Avon on the transition of 8th grade students into high school and freshman high school success, as well as programs for high school seniors that provided dual credit career engagement and their transition into post-secondary opportunities at Avon. So kind of ran the gamut as assistant principal there under Mr. Shockley. So welcome, Mr. Meyer, and I invite you to introduce anyone you might have brought with you and any words you'd like to share with the board and the community.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Millman. I appreciate the opportunity to serve the community of Lebanon and Lebanon High School specifically. I look forward to meeting as many people as I can in the next 30, 60, 90, 180 days. I will tell you, I am not good with names, though. I'm good with faces. So I'll just say, hey. And you'll know who I am, but you'll just be hey to me. So nothing personal. So I'd like to introduce my family. My wife of 27 years, Megan. She's an amazing mom, an amazing wife. My daughter, Eliza, she is 18. She just completed her first year at IU, and she's an Avon High School grad. And then my son over there with the hat, he graduates this Sunday from DePaul University with a degree in English. Go smart people. So congratulations to him. So thank you so much, everyone. My welcome here has been as warm as Gwen's has been, and I'm grateful for it. Thank you.
All right. Welcome all. Now we have consent agenda business matters. Financial update, Mr. Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. As always in your board packet, your monthly update in terms of our month-over-month fund balances and our year-to-date and comparison of this April to last year's April. Happy to answer any questions you may have over those two summary documents. Hearing none, we'll move to the approval of claims. So this will be the beginning tonight. I have a well-documented history of not doing well saying numbers.
That's okay. We stumbled over words today.
Well, the bids for the elementaries that came back, we've got 15 of those to read. So this is going to be a minor miracle, but we'll give it a shot here. So request the board's approval for claim numbers 57695 through 57856 in the amount of $2,805,537.60, and two payrolls, one from April 28th, one from May 12th, in the amount of $2,008,140.41, for a total docket of $4,813,678.01. We're one
That's
for
your
one.
first.
We're one for one.
Yes. Do we have a motion to pay our bills and our staff?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have comments from the public. None? None? On to action items. Action item A, request approval of 2023-24 curricular fees.
Yeah, board, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to pull that action item this evening. Late last week, the DOE came through with guidance regarding, in fact, it was a strong advisement against the adoption, long-term adoption of any materials. That was in response to another item in the General Assembly, which was curricular fees being reimbursed by the state. In other words, schools not charging curricular fees anymore. With that said, the curriculum that you adopt, we've received no guidance on if they will pay for any curriculum or not. So with that being said, there was a science adoption underway at LMS, waiting to get a little bit more guidance on that, and we'll likely come back with fees once we speak more with our science rep in June. So I would like to pull action item A.
All right. Thank you. Next is requesting approval of appendices to master agreement with Meyer Najum for Perryworth Elementary, Harney, and New Elementary School.
Yes. So if the board will recall, at last month's meeting, we approved what we're calling a master agreement, a master C-132 with Meyer Najum. And then as we layer on these individual projects, due to their intricacies and differences that exist between them, Meyer Najum would then supply appendices which would define that specific project, their fee for that specific project. And the three projects that I'm bringing to the board this evening would be the renovations taking place at Perryworth Elementary, the renovations taking place at Harney, and the construction of the new elementary school. Those three agreements are all in the board packet this evening, and I would request the board's approval of those three project agreements for Meyer Najum.
Do we have a motion to approve the appendices to the master agreement with Meyer Najum? Mrs. Hutchison? Do we have a second? Jones. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is approval for audio system improvements at LHS.
Yeah, so at various locations at Lebanon High School, the public address system essentially has fallen into a state of disrepair, or it's not providing adequate audio coverage for all spectators. Those locations have been identified as the Lebanon High School football field, Rosenstiel Gymnasium, improving the sound quality there, and then our weight room sound system has failed as well. So we, I should say, Mr. Smith, Bronson Smith, Director of Technology, has solicited 3 quotes for each of these projects. Blades Audio Video returned the lowest quote for each of these projects, and so you will see that proposal for each of these 3 facilities, and I would respectfully request the board's approval of all 3.
Do we have a motion for approval of the audio system improvements at LHS?
I'll move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So the audio system in the weight room. The weight room is fairly new, not necessarily new. Was there any warranty with any of that? Or?
So it was mainly my understanding the communication of the mixer, or the origin of where you would play the audio, and then the communication, the wires via wherever they weren't communicating with the speakers, I suppose. And so the I shouldn't say the renovation, the improvements to that weight room system were in respect to, I suppose, the failure of that. To my knowledge, there was no warranty. Otherwise, Mr. Smith would obviously, hopefully, use that warranty.
Or, yeah, or if there's any,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's nothing that you could probably reuse or resell or.
No, and I think that might have been part of the issue, was possibly some components that may have been repurposed at the time. I don't know all the details. That would have been quite some time ago when they made that move. So this is about half what one of the earlier quotes from another vendor had. So this was a solution that we felt like could make the right sound difference, but not the dent in the budget that could have been made. So about by half, I'd say. Yep.
As a parent of a high school football player, thank you, because that beautiful football field and the sound system that crackles every time it's spoken to, I appreciate it.
We tried to get quotes in time for graduation this year for the gymnasium, but the timing just didn't quite work, so next year.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is LMS masonry repairs.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. If you recall, I came to the board in April and communicated an issue with the masonry at Lebanon Middle School. We have some weep holes in the masonry that had become clogged. I'm by no means an expert on EFIS and how building envelope systems work, but I do understand that weep holes being clogged does not allow water to exit, and as a result, we have quite a substantial leak inside. Something is called through-wall flashing has also failed as a result of this. And so despite the repairs that hopefully, or renovations I should say, are hopefully coming at Lebanon Middle School, at the advisement of Etica, they said the damage that would result from just waiting until addressing that in 2024, when the Lebanon Middle School projects would begin, with some of that leaking going on in the gymnasium, wood floors, the advice was to get that fixed. So the scope was written in such a manner that we would not exceed the $150,000 that would require bids. So similarly to the audio, solicited 3 quotes, and in this case, Wells Masonry Restoration came back for a total contract value of $122,108, and that was the low bidder. You will see the bid tabs on the back of this sheet where the other 2 companies that submitted quotes arrived. So would appreciate the board's approval of an agreement with Wells Masonry Restoration to repair the masonry issues at Lebanon Middle School.
Do we have a motion to approve these masonry repairs with Wells Masonry? Do we have a second? Any further discussion?
And is this project accounting for just repairs to prevent damages, or is this also to repair damage? I'm just wondering from an insurance perspective if there was any possible recovery.
So luckily, the damage did not reach a point where there was any replacement of the floor needed, so no insurance claim in that manner. But this will fix I would say, where the masonry has failed, where the water mitigation system has failed. No repairs for any damage inside, only fixing the issue that we have.
And we do not have any mold or mildew issues
No.
with that?
No.
Good. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Will this begin when the students are gone?
This is summer work, yes. So should any of it extend into the school year, masonry can be allowed. And Wells has agreed that should they not finish in time for when students return, that any hammering or loud noises would have to take place on second shift.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have request approval of construction contracts for Harney and Perryworth Elementary.
Yes, so we've got 15 total bid packs to read off here tonight between these two schools. Prior to getting into this, I would offer to the board that rather than reading a bid pack and then voting on each 15, that I would read all of Harney's, the winning bidder, the amount, and then one vote to approve all of Harney, and then repeat with Perryworth. That way, we're not doing 15 votes. We're just doing 2 votes, one for each school.
Sounds excellent.
Perfect. So with that, we will begin with Harney. Happy to report that we received full coverage on all bid packs, meaning each trade was bid and we received bids, and we have full coverage at Harney. And with that, I can report to the board that with the bids that we received, we came in $1,904,958 under budget at Harney, under the design development budget that Meyer Najum provided. So that is fantastic news. And so I did want to provide that summary moving in. And so with that, I will move into each of the winning bidders, their trade, and the amount of the bid at Harney. So we will start with site work at Harney, and that low bidder, all of these are low bids, by the way, so no issues with responsiveness or anything. These are all low bids. So J.R. Bowling is going to be the site work contractor, should the board approve the contract, and their value for their contract is $1,950,000. Second, we actually had SCS Construction take both the general trades package as well as the drywall and acoustics package. And as a result, the combination of these two bid packages totals $6,685,500. So that's general trades and site work combined going to SCS Construction. Next is the masonry work taking place in Harney. Iwanski Masonry was the low bidder at a value of $1,983,000. Next is roofing and siding. Low bidder was Horning Roofing in the amount of $520,170. Horning Roofing for the roof work at Harney Elementary. Next up is the flooring that will take place at Harney, and that goes to Jack Laurie Floors. They were the low bidder at a value of $820,900. Next would be the food service equipment. So if you'll recall, we're getting a brand new kitchen at Harney, and so this would be the kitchen equipment, ovens, things of that nature that will go there. That low bidder was C&T Design in the amount of $352,187. C&T Design kitchen equipment at Harney Elementary. Next up is the mechanical package. Quality Plumbing and Heating was the low bidder of that package in the amount of $4,502,000. And lastly, at Harney would be the electrical trade, and that goes to the low bidder, Long Electric, in the amount of $3,054,000. So with that, I would appreciate the board's approval of all 7 or 8. It is, oh, there's my water. 8.
Okay.
8 contracts at Harney, which represents full coverage for the renovation and additions going on at that school.
Do we have a motion to approve all 8 contracts for Harney Elementary School improvements? Ms. Jones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? It is exciting. Do you happen to have a total, what these total up to?
You know, as I was reading that, in my mind, I said, why didn't I total all of these up? I can certainly.
That's okay.
I have my
We-
budget that I updated today, and I can highlight all 8 of those cells, and before the end of this board meeting, I can report
That's
back
okay.
on the total at both Perryworth
That-
and Harney.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I do have a quick question. So not complaining, because it's great, but as looking through this, a lot of the items were budgeted much higher than they came in at.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because cost of construction is going down, or what, why was that?
I think there's a lot of factors in there. So I think when you look at, first of all, the number that Meyer Nagem came up with. How do they come up with a number in this construction environment right now? You can see that certainly their book is very skewed in mechanical. You'll see as well at Perryworth, their mechanical number was much lower than bids came back. However, when you look at electrical, it was skewed just as much the other way. So keeping an up-to-date book of estimates would be a complaint of every pre-construction manager in construction companies, I would imagine in the United States, but I will say the Indianapolis metropolitan area. Now, that being said, another number or another factor that influences numbers that we get is who has availability. So some of these companies could have a crew that they have no work planned for the summer, and they would come in at a much more aggressive number that someone who may have coverage right now, but we maybe be able to take on another one, and we'll give this number, and maybe we'll win. But if we don't, we're okay. So that also plays a role in your budget as well, is you have no idea who really wants the work or who will take it if they get it for this number. And I think you'll see as you go back to those bid tabs, especially for the general trades, how different that number is between the 3 folks that bid on the general trades at Harney. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, typically what I just would always look at is the consistency between all bidders too, and seeing that you're within a good range too. I mean, but it is hard to see now too because of different.
And you'll notice as we get into Perryworth, the mechanical on a $3 million bid pack, the difference was $6,000. So that was as close as I've ever seen come through. I mean, the air came out of the room when that happened because a lot of folks had never seen, on $3 million, $6,000 being the difference between the 2 companies.
Yeah, looking at these, they all do seem pretty, the bidders all seem pretty close.
They were close,
In the
yep.
same, so it is a very difficult market. 19 million, just under 19.9. We have a first and second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next we have Perryworth.
Perryworth. So, unlike Harney, Perryworth did not receive full coverage. The 2 bid packages that received no bidders were site work and then drywall and acoustics. That was immediately thrown back out on the street before I left for work that day. That was bid 2 weeks ago. Bids were received 2 weeks ago this evening, today. Meyer Nagem's confident that they have bidders for those. We received those Thursday. And so we'll be bringing those contracts to the board in June. As you can imagine, site work is the first thing that needs to be done. They are confident that they have. It's very interesting the day you bid something, if someone's available to come, people can get lost. If you don't meet the 2 o'clock deadline, it's gone. And there was just some crews that were, it's just very interesting to hear the conversation that takes place between Meyer Najum and the contractors. Going into noon, the day of, they had 3 people that were going to bid, and none of them showed. Whether a job comes through for them that they didn't have before, whatever the case may be. But at any rate, they are confident that on Thursday we will receive coverage for those final 2 bid packs. But through what we have, we are currently at Perry Worth $1,159,043 under budget there as well. So more than $3 million under, with 2 bid packs to come for Perry Worth, and with the last big project, of course, being the new elementary school. We're looking good right now, I guess.
So for the 2 package you did not get, Perry Worth, are you assuming their estimate?
Comes at budget.
Yeah, budget. You're
Yep.
putting those at budget,
Yep.
so it's not, yeah, okay.
Yep. All right, so here we go. Seven of these to read for Perry Worth. So here are the bid packs that we did receive coverage for. First is General Trades, which is SCS Construction. You will recognize them. They also took the General Trades at Harney, so SCS Construction will be prevalent in the Lebanon community, at least at these 2 schools, for the next few years. But their winning bid was $3,979,000 for General Trades at Perry Worth. Next is another familiar name. Iwanski Masonry also took the masonry work at Perry Worth Elementary, winning bid $1,318,000. Those are the only 2 companies that carried their packages at both schools, so the rest of these will be new. So our roofing and siding winner at Perry Worth Elementary was Foster Contracting, winning bid in the amount of $1,845,700. And I just saw Foster Contracting come up again, so if I don't read 7, I'm going to have to find which one we're missing, so we get the board.
It's a duplicate.
It's a duplicate, okay. That's okay. So next up is the food service equipment at Perry Worth. Winning bidder there was Central Restaurant Supply in the amount of $758,210. I thought I was going to be able to make it. Daggone it. Mechanical at Perry Worth was Commercial Air, winning bid $4,460,000. And familiar name to Lebanon here coming up. Gaylor Electric takes the electrical package at Perry Worth Elementary, winning bid $2,716,000. So did I read 6? Sorry, did I read 7 there? Electrical, mechanical, restaurant is 3, roofing and siding is 4. Iwanski's 5. SCS is 6. So I think we might be missing one. Yep. Yep. Foster, yep. Don't have that one. That's okay. So you got flooring. Blakely's was the winning contractor, flooring, $659,710. Winning bid at Perry Worth is Blakely's. And that is.
So a total of 7 contracts for Perry Worth.
For Perry, yes.
For a total of 23.6 million, right around there. Sound about right?
Yeah, that's
Do we have a motion to approve these 7?
2 missing bids, that
Yeah.
sounds about right.
Yeah, 2 missing.
It's a little low, but.
I will say the budget of those 2
The
is
budget of those.
$4 million is what remains roughly
Okay.
for those 2.
Do you have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We get some contracts. Now we have the approval of the 23-24 elementary handbook. Yes.
We don't have many changes in this year's elementary handbook. So you should see the one page of just the student handbook changes for next year. And the biggest was on page 2, to remove that language in the in-district student transfer and replace with out-of-student district transfer. And also adding, I spoke with the nurses, and adding the shot record to enrolling in school. Because yes, our nurses can get it from CHIRP, but it's a lot easier when it's enrolled. And so now that it's in the handbook, hopefully we'll get some more. And then mostly it was just changing names and making sure we're updated with years. The only other thing we're asking for approval is that on page 21 and 22, the addition of wording with via electronic message added to our tardiness and absence, as we're using Parent Square more heavily now, and it reaches a lot more of our parents. We're getting a lot more response. Sending those letters in the mail, but also sending them via electronic message. We can do that securely to individual parents, and then we can see that they've received and opened it regarding their absences and tardies. So we'll be able to track that better, and we'll know that the parents actually did open the document and see it. So we would like to add via electronic message. The only reason we chose not to put via Parent Square was if that were to ever change, we can stick with whatever electronic message works. Questions?
Do we have a motion to approve 23-24 elementary handbook?
I'll motion.
Mr. Hendricks, do we have a second?
Second.
Klauser. Any discussions? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next, we have approval of the LMS handbook.
Sorry, the baseball team's locked out. We can't get in.
Did they win?
It's a team effort.
They did.
They can come in.
They can come in.
Oh, they can come in.
Only if they
Michael
won,
Walker,
right?
He doesn't have his keys. We sent you a list of the updates to ours. I don't know if there are any questions. I will hit one highlight on there. Probably the biggest thing on ours is the attendance policy, and that's high school and middle school both. We made the change in that, getting rid of the concept of sick days versus parent days versus whatever days. It's just a hassle. The biggest complaint we've had over the years is, yeah, my kid was sick. I'm not taking them to the doctor and spending the money to get you a note to approve those days. So now we're just going to put it as 7 days of excused absences for reasons that are listed in an approved school absence. They come from the state, illness, et cetera, those things that would be all automatically considered an excused absence. So 7 days per semester is what we put on there, instead of having 4 sick and 4 parent and all that kind of confusion. So that's probably the biggest highlight on there, other than 100.4 degrees replacing the 100-degree temperature. So that is also a key highlight in there. So that 0.4 is key in the state of Indiana.
Sounds like bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy at its best. All the others are basic, like the elementary said, it's basic changes that have gone on. If there's any other questions that I can answer for you on any of those, I'd be glad to do so.
Excellent changing of
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, even in my organization, we've gone away from all of that. It's just PTO, and you use it for whatever. So that's very helpful. Does
It's gonna
senioritis
simplify our
count?
discussion.
Because I have a kid that has that and wants to stay home tomorrow. Does that allow? Yeah.
And if a parent has, our rule says if a kid has a fever, don't bring them to school.
Right.
So, don't have a fever, I'm not gonna take them to the doctor, because the doctor doesn't want them there if they have a fever, and, all those different things. So it just made sense to make that change.
The answer to your question is senioritis, all absences count. That one would be counted unexcused.
I know.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, he does have one parent day
I speak
left.
from experience, by the way.
One parent
No
day.
more parent days, though, right? Yeah.
He's got one.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the 23-24 LMS handbook?
Motion.
Hutchison, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying along for that.
I was going to talk longer so Kevin could wait a few more.
Good evening. Once again, we're here for the high school handbook, and I think you have the front and back sheet. So as Doyle mentioned, attendance is also our most significant change. The other changes are mainly just wording updates and things and some things from Mr. Martin. So happy to answer any questions you have, whether it's about attendance or any other updates.
I don't know. Do we have a motion to approve the LHS handbook 23-24? Mr. Clauser? Do we have a second?
Second.
Hendricks? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
you.
Thank you.
Last policy that you ever have to present.
There you go. Congratulations again on your retirement.
Thank you.
Next, we have the second reading of policy updates, and there's going to be a modification here.
Yes, we are continuing to be reactionary to last-minute legislative action. Mr. Dennis may want to explain why we're going to ask the board to table 6320. The state changed some dollar amounts for you. So you want to give a little context to that?
So our purchasing policy was previously quotes shall be requested for anything above $25,000 and less than $150,000. That was brought to first reading because our policy was actually more restricted than the state statute. State statute is $50,000 up to $150,000. So brought that to the first reading to change to be in alignment with state statute. As a result of this year's General Assembly, they have elevated the threshold to secure bids, which used to be above $150,000. Now it's $300,000. So our policy will potentially be in alignment with state statute, and we would bring that on a second reading to change $150,000 to $300,000. So $50,000 to $300,000 would be state statute. How that reads, I know Mr. Parks may have some thoughts, but
That was just a substantial enough change that probably shouldn't be wordsmithed during a second reading of the policy, so we'll bring it back with a little bit more formal language to align with the state. So with that.
That happens at the State House all the time on second
Absolutely,
reading.
absolutely. I know.
Hey, it's something I talked about, maybe we even just take it to the state statute, reference that rather than changing the dollar amounts regular, although I don't think this is the first change from
Long
150 to,
time.
it's been a while, it's been 150 for quite some time.
Decades, I would say.
Yes.
Right.
So this actually just helps to
Reflection of the
get.
cost of goods
exactly.
now, and, things like the audio packages, perhaps, if it would have been $150,099, we would have had to secure.
And the cost of doing bids
So.
is much more expensive than quotes, so, absolutely. So,
Yep.
we're taking that one off the table, but the search and seizure is still on
Yes,
second
search and
reading.
seizure
for
is
search
still
and
on the
seizure.
table for second reading, and be happy to answer any questions you might have about that. Or respectfully request approval.
Do we have approval to adopt the modified search and seizure policy? That's a hard word, too.
It is.
Yes.
This is the second.
This is the second reading. Do we have a motion to approve?
All motion.
Mr. Hendrick? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have approval of the 22-23 summer school staff.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Parks, and thank you to Dr. Ottinger for putting this together for us. Does a great job of organizing these proposals each year for summer school. The names and subjects are in your background notes. This, much like appropriations, is if these courses go, there are restrictions and requirements of a student-teacher ratio in order for a course to actually take place in the summer, but you're authorizing this evening the contracts for these teachers should those ratios be appropriate.
Do we have a motion to approve the 22-23 summer school staff?
Move to approve.
Mr. Clauser, do we have a second? Mr. Jones. Any further discussion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is approval of consulting services agreement with Colfax Communications.
Yes, and consulting is a little, probably a little less appropriate than professional services. We're actually requesting the board to re-engage with Colfax Communications. We've worked with David Galvin and Colfax Communications in the past. The services that we are asking them to perform for us are things like monthly electronic newsletters, quarterly electronic newsletters, postcard mailings, et cetera, that kind of fall outside of the day-to-day scope of our Director of Communications. And also what Colfax brings to the table is a ability to glean a database and create a database of our community members, not just parents and students in the district, so we have a much larger reach. And so Mr. Galvin is able to curate addresses, email addresses of community members so that we can keep our community informed on that. So he will glean from our social media feeds, from conversations and meetings with Ms. Britt Buis and myself on an ongoing basis, and create these electronic newsletters and communications. And then our job will be to proofread, make suggestions and edits to those, and then he has the ability to then publish it kind of in a mass situation. The other item that we've asked Mr. Galvin to do is to kind of reignite our Tiger Champion Circle, which started near the time of our referendum, bringing our community members into our schools, into the school district. And I'll be sharing with the board some goals I have for my desk for the coming year, which is to provide an opportunity for groups of community members to engage with our cabinet members to learn about how public schools actually work kind of from the inside out. So there's some models for us to model or to emulate there, or imitate there. So this would be part of that process as well, trying to get just a bigger reach in our community in a way that we have somebody who has the expertise, kind of goes to that key system of being more efficient and effective, and that's what this will allow us to do. So I'm asking for approval to re-engage with Colfax Communications.
Do we have a motion to approve the consulting services agreement, professional services agreement with Colfax Communications? Mr. Jones? Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have approval of the Zello agreement?
Zello, that's correct.
Zello,
Mhm.
okay, agreement.
Yeah, some of you who are parents and of current high school students or have been may be familiar with a program called Naviance that our students used and have organized their, not their transcript, but kind of their journey through high school, help prepare scholarship information, consolidated their information about public service or community service and their activities, et cetera. Zello is a much more robust platform. Many area districts that are part of the CISC group, which we are part of as well, many districts in that service center have made the shift to Zello. Zello also has the ability to connect our middle school students to their pathways and begin it a little bit sooner. We're engaging just at the high school and middle school to start, but it also then has a elementary reach, which is done in it's a opportunity for us to gain some information about student interests so that it can inform that 5 to 6 transition student and then that 8 to 9 transition. Our middle school students will already be plugged into the system as they enter as freshmen, and the reports we've had from districts who have made the switch to Zello have found that their students are actually using it, not just when the counselors are reminding them and prodding them and making them engage with it, they're actually engaging with it. So this is where I think we're asking for a 3-year initial engagement with Zello, and then we'll gauge our situation from there.
Do we have a motion to approve the agreement with Zello? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? This does come with some some training, onboard
Yes,
training?
yes,
and-
there's some onboarding. A lot of that's
Yes.
done virtually now, I think,
Okay.
not so much on site, but there's a good, I'm looking at Kristen because it really helps her career engagement group and to track their efforts through that, so she's been very heavily engaged in this.
Excellent. Any other discussion? We have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item M, approval of revised 23-24 district calendar.
I'm showing you on the screen, this is the currently approved calendar. Was just last year approved. These are the areas of change that we're going to see on the next page. And of course, the denoting of the midterm on here will also change. So our next page, done again. What's driven this, as you know, April 8th is eclipse. It wouldn't be a huge problem if the kids could be confined to the school, but it's during dismissal. During that dismissal hour or so, there will be a pretty significant interruption in everybody's driving and darkness and comfort level with movement around. And so anyway, we're going to convert that, with your permission, to a PD day. It's April 8th. By doing so, we're giving up the PD day on February 7th, because we have one more day of school in that first term. Also changing was the midterm from the 9th to the 8th. That's basically the revision request for the 23-24 school calendar.
All breaks stay the same as original. This is just swapping a PD day. It was the cleanest change.
Do you have a motion to approve the revised 23-24 district calendar?
All motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
He beat you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Sorry.
We're getting tired.
It's all right.
Opposed?
It was a roll call vote.
Motion passes. Next, we have approval of the combi oven for Perry Worth.
So Perry Worth had a failure of a piece of equipment about 4 months ago. It took a bit of time to get the bid. You can see this whole document had to be created and put through because we're spending federal student school nutrition funds, so you have to jump through a lot of hoops. In any case, the winning bid of 4 was $25,340.76 from, they aren't listed on this page, Lancaster Shirt Equipment. They happen to be out of Whitestown. That's why they probably were able to bid pretty low. The high bid was in the $31,500 range. So of the 4 bids, this is the lowest, and they happen to still also be a quality bidder. So,
And this oven does remain. We knew we were purchasing this oven, so
Stay in the new kitchen.
the kitchen package that you all approved earlier this evening factored in that we would be keeping this combi oven since it's going to be a year old.
Okay. Good deal. Do we have a motion to approve combi oven?
All motion.
Do we have a second? Jones. Any further discussion?
You want to start down here this time on the?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have request for approval of drug and alcohol student testing agreement.
Witham Hospital closed their toxicology testing lab, or at least made it not able to be honoring their contracts. We had been with them from as far as anybody knows. So anyway, through some research and determination, this particular company already had our bus transportation testing on demand and random. That was already in place. They had a student testing division, and you have been, I assume you all have the full agreement available to you. Cost is a little higher by about 50% per test. It's pretty significant, but it's probably why Witham got out. They just weren't seeing the dollar signs there.
All right. Do you have a motion to approve the drug and alcohol testing agreement with ITI?
I'll move to approve.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have approval of LHS overnight trips.
Mr. Hendricks brings a request for the boys' basketball team to go to Bethel College, June 15th, 16th. I think that's coming up.
We'll take them all at once. Well,
Okay,
all three.
perfect. Secondarily, the boys' basketball team to St. Francis College. I can't grab that page as quickly. The date, you have it in front of you. And the girls' basketball team camp at Purdue University.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve these trips for the basketball teams? Jones, second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is approval of the LCSC key systems, guiding statements and mission statement.
Thank you. I won't go through the presentation I made earlier this evening. Just respectfully request the board's approval of the hard work of our administration and staff and students. And upon that approval, Ms. Britt Buis and I will get busy launching a lot of communication around it.
It was my request to put it in the superintendent's notes so that then all the parents could hear it too. So do we have a motion to approve the new key systems guidance principle and mission statement? Motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Upcoming board meetings and events, June 20th is the next regular board meeting right here. Last student day is May 23rd with some exciting.
It is?
Yes, some more activities, so.
Congratulations to our graduates. Early
Yes.
congratulations to our graduates. Stay focused, pass your finals so you can.
Yes.
Use your parent days.
And with that.